Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Genius Game exit interviews. I'm here, of course, as always, with Cory Wurtenberger. But that really doesn't matter today
Yeah.
because we have an amazing guest, the deathmatch assassin, who is here to discover and uncover the mystery of why she was eliminated and why Bex betrayed her. It is Allison. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Nice to be here.
Well, we're so excited to have you. It's been so much fun watching you all season, and that I have for everyone that we have on is how'd you end up on Genius Game? And, like, why'd you say yes, essentially?
Um, the audio broke up there. I think you're asking me how did I get on the show? Was that?
Yeah, how'd you, end up choosing to do Genius Game?
Yeah. I was actually you know when it gets to about 2 a.m. and you really should go to bed, but you're too wired. I was a bit like that, and normally that's the time I go online and buy something I don't actually need, and but I thought, oh, I'll see if I can find I don't know, a little adventure. And I went on one of these go on TV pages to actually enter a different game show, and that was closed. So I saw this block at the bottom that said, "Do you like doing puzzles?" And I thought I clicked on that, and then off I went.
That's awesome. I mean, I think it was very clear that everyone on this cast was like seeking out some opportunity like this, which I think is really fun, as opposed to the other way around. I have
Yeah.
a question that I'm sure you've thought quite a bit about. So to this day, I know it's been a long
Yes.
time since you've actually filmed. Do you think Bex made an innocent mistake, or do you think there was something more sinister going on?
Do you know? You've got to bear in mind that people get tired, physically, mentally tired. And, when people get tired, their focus drifts in and out. I can well believe by that point, when we were under the stairs having that conversation and Badali was saying, we're going all in and everything. And Bex was a bit kind of like, yeah, yeah. But she wasn't totally in the room. I'd always got on well with Bex, and I think I was closer to Bex than anybody else. That doesn't mean that she wouldn't have tried to bump me off, as I like to think of it, some point down the line, but I don't think there was any need for her to do it then and there. I know how upset she was afterwards, and I believe that was genuine. She was very upset afterwards.
Well, my read on it, and tell me if you agree or not, was that Bex was kind of ready to throw you two under the bus in the sense of she thought that you guys were losing and was trying
Yeah.
to save herself in that moment. So it was a self-preservation for the loss, and she didn't actually process how that would screw you both over in case of the win. So, like, what ended up happening to me felt like it was accidental from her. She wasn't trying to steal the win from you guys, but it felt
No,
very much like she was trying to push you guys like into the death match over herself there.
I think she definitely didn't want to go in the death match, and there were a few people during the game who were very sorry, who were very desperate to avoid the death match. Whereas I kind of thought, once I'd done the first one, I thought, actually, I'm getting more gameplay than other people. This is no bad thing, because you're getting unique experiences by being in a death match, aren't you? And we're in it to have an adventure. So, and I absolutely loved hidden noughts and crosses. So yeah. So I think there was a fear for some people of being in a death match, and maybe that played into it. I don't know. No hard feelings then, or looking back, I think, well, maybe she should have saved me instead of Bedalia. But she said at the time, you're not going to get picked for another death match, but then I think, well, it would be very hard for somebody on the white team to break ranks and pick somebody from their own team.
Yeah.
So as soon as she protected Bedalia, I thought, I'm in another death match now. So there's always like different permutations, but I could see how that ended up how it did. And at the end of the day, if you end up in a death match, it's down to you to get out of it.
Yeah, I do think is a pretty unfortunate draw in terms of, I think if there's any other options for the death match, I think you probably would have been safe in that spot. But let's talk about you and death matches, because you obviously proved your aptitude in them. It seemed like, you were very comfortable in that environment. But in the main matches, it felt like you weren't that interested in securing the token of life. Is that just because you didn't fear the death match, or was there something else going on there?
And can I just reset for the audience? Because I was looking at this. It was like episode 3 was the Benjamin. All right, we can just let Benjamin win. Episode 4, you got presented this like big plan from Amanfi that would have potentially given you the win. And then episode 5 and 6, you were on the winning team both times, but because you were in the majority and didn't have the token of life, it was given to someone else on your team. You ended up in the death match both times there.
Yeah, I didn't. I've said this before. I say it again that my job as a mum is to embarrass my kids a certain amount, but not too much. So I didn't want to go out first round because my son's at uni. Give him a break. He doesn't need that, right? So I needed to stay in for round 1. So the logical thing to do with that was to keep a fairly low profile and let somebody else kind of get themselves in the firing line, either by being uncooperative or annoying or whatever it was going to be, too loud, too pushy. So, but then I thought about it and thought, actually, this is quite a good place to be, because if you stay, as long as if you get in a death match, you win it, then actually you're flying nicely under the radar, and it doesn't do to get off the blocks too quickly, like maybe Scott, who, Charlotte played it really smart in the first game because she was there sort of an equal, like, villain, if you like, with Scott, but she played down her role in that so much that she was flying under the radar for a long time in the game. And I think, game 5, game 6 is about the place to kind of start to break from the pack. And if as long as you're not scared of going in the death match, then it's no biggie, is it? I would have liked the token of life once.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah.
Of the death matches that you didn't get to play just because you were so good at the ones we did see, is there one in particular that you think you would have just crushed, or is there one that you would have been like, oh, thank God I didn't get that one?
I don't want the Amanfi Scott popularity contest.
No,
I didn't want to be on the involved in that at all. It was just horrible. We were all, and I really regret actually not just kind of, it didn't occur to me at the time just to go, look, we'll pick 2 random cards, give them 2 random cards and let them sort it out. Because then it would have been, tactically it was maybe better to let Amanfi go because he's pretty damn smart. But on the other hand, it would have been nice to see the 2 of them battle it out, the proper, because that's what it's about really, isn't it? Pitting our wits against each other. So not that one. I think same or different might have been fun. Probably wouldn't have. I do play a bit of poker, or I have done in the past. Not sure about the Indian poker game, especially against Ken. Maybe I don't know. No strong feelings. I think I had 2 of the best ones actually. I probably had all 3 of the best ones actually.
I don't know. I think your like steely stare in Indian poker would be kind of tough to overcome. Like I would have trouble betting against you, I think.
Yeah, I do like the up close kind of like eyeballing thing. I think that's quite entertaining.
Allison, I real quick, I do have to just ask. I've been trying to figure out what that noise has been this whole time. Is somebody snoring right next to you? Okay. That's what the noise is. It's all good. Don't worry about it. I've been like, is that Cory? Is that?
I was thinking lawnmower.
Oh.
Okay. So this is, I think it's very interesting. So in episode 5, you along with Vidalia and Bex were deemed these naive players that Ken was scooping up and puppeteering and everything. So first of all, what was your reaction to hearing that? And why do you think that perception existed?
Do you know, sometimes I don't get involved in conversations just for the sake of it. And sometimes there was loads of toing and froing with, should we do this? And we could do this and we could do this. And I'd sit back and I'd think, just finish your nattering and then we'll make a decision, you know? So, yeah, so sometimes I wasn't maybe in the thick of it. Having said that, you know, obviously the programs are edited and there's a lot more going on than, you know, choices are made in the edit. So there were sometimes I was thinking, hang on, I had loads to say on that one. I don't know. I mean, it's dangerous to come across as being. Well, is it a bad thing for them to think you're naive at that point and then catch them out in the death match? I don't think
you were a rare case, I think, where even if you were put in that category, people were still terrified of going to the death match with you, which I think is like the perfect combination that you want to have. I think the fear is like if people view Bedalia as naive, and then they feel very comfortable taking him to the death match, that's a problem.
I was gonna say, yeah, like I think that you had gotten yourself into a nicer position where people weren't as threatened by you in the main match, but they were in the death match. What unfortunately happened for you, from me watching, was the two people who were considered the weakest in the death match, being Bedalia and Bex, were the two that walked away with a token of life. And I imagine that if either of them had been an option there, Ben picks them over you.
Yeah, I think maybe, especially with the Ben Bex drama going on, I think that would have been a high, a sort of a high interest death match, wouldn't it? I mean, people would be either in what you have the expression Marmite, do you? Do you have the expression
Marmite? Yeah,
yeah. It's those two. People are in one camp or the other with them.
So we've kind of talked about like the edit and all of that stuff in this show and how the social alliances and connections have played a big role, even though we haven't really gotten a sense of what those are too well. Yeah. Can you give us, it's kind of a two-part question. Oh no. I'm so sorry. I feel like I threw that from across the Atlantic Ocean.
Well, that's a first in your life, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's incredible. I say the words, and then all of a sudden, what did you throw at them?
It was a tissue box. Right?
It was a tissue box. It was like this.
Okay. And they're okay.
Oh my god, you have ammunition. You got more.
Oh yes.
So who gives a crap tissue box? So it's it's environmentally friendly and biodegradable and all that. So it's a good thing to throw.
I like that. Well, I'm sure the audience will love that. Anyways, back to the question: the social connections that we missed on the show. Can you kind of give us the lay of the land? Like, what were the real important connections?
Just like the slight challenge to this is, we've stayed in contact with each other afterwards, and some relationships have changed and morphed.
In the, I would just ask, like, in like the moment you're leaving, like as we're entering this final five, if you could take yourself back there.
Okay, so I would say that I think Ken and Charlotte are quietly respectful of one another. They're weighing each other up. I think. I think probably Ben has surprised people with how prepared he's been and how well he knows the games, and that's certainly given him an advantage at times. But I also think he's probably easier to read, and I'm not sure how much. I don't think he's got any alliances at this point anymore. I think probably Charlotte and Ken, Bex and Bedalia Charlotte and Ken, Bex and Bedalia, with Ben sort of floating.
Sure. Gotcha. So talking about the edit, I have two questions about it. So first of all, is there anything left out of these first 6 episodes that was like, oh my God, I can't believe they didn't show this? And then the other question is there anything you saw that surprised you that you weren't aware of in the game?
Oh yeah, well, Charlotte was bit of a minx, wasn't she, in episode 1? I didn't realize that. And then Pasha passed Paul a note at one point and didn't remember that.
And then Amanfi went straight to him and said, "Hey, you should really put Allison in there."
Yeah, harsh.
Yeah.
But
Why
yeah,
do
no,
that?
I think Manfi's really smart. I think he should have gone a lot further in the game. He was unlucky. I think he was partly unlucky because he was actually really sincere, whether or not he was lying. So you were thinking, I haven't got a clue. You didn't know whether you could trust him or not. I think, yeah, the one thing that sticks out for me that got me really annoyed at the time was that I knew Ben was having to run the Codenames game because of the position he was in. And we sort of agreed to go along with certain stuff. I didn't like that he was trying to single out a particular person rather than anybody to come bottom. And so when I found out that I'd kind of been manipulated to leave, amongst the others, we've been manipulated to leave Ken in bottom place, I was really annoyed about it because I don't like being, manipulated. So it made me cross. And so that was a moment that is a very memorable moment for me because I went from being like, oh yeah, I'm working with Ben to keep him safe. I get where he's coming from. He's not going to end up in 2. Okay, I wasn't up for singling somebody out, so I'm annoyed.
Yeah,
that was
that
quite a
makes
big
a lot of
moment.
sense. I am curious just to dig a little bit deeper into your relationship with Amanfi, just because it felt like for those first 4 games, there was a lot of crossplay between the two of you. Like, just to reset for the audience, episode 1, he tries to throw you under the bus in the death match with Paul. Episode 2, I believe he's the one who immediately turns you into a zombie, correct? And then episode 4, he comes in with what was probably the closest you came to winning a main match with that lights off game. He comes in with a plan, says, "Allison, this plan right here could get you the win. You don't go for it. I think it's understandable given the context of Bedalia is going into the death match and Amanfi is going to be chosen, so you are safe there. Do you just at this point have any regrets not just going for that win in particular, just to get a main match win on your belt, kind of another thing to impress the kids?
No, I was quite happy. I just felt like grabbing an early victory wasn't following my going under the radar plan, So I was just quite happy to stay, unthreatening, harmless.
Okay.
Well, so I had one final question. So you talked about playing under the radar and being harmless, but everyone very much respected you in that game and feared you in a lot of ways. Yet you did get selected for the death match. I think was it on 3 separate occasions. I don't know if you got last one of these times. So you're selected every time. Why do you think? Can you just level this for me? How does everyone fear you in the death match so much, and also picking you for the death match pretty frequently?
Okay, well, when Scott picked me, I was untried, wasn't I?
Yeah.
So I would imagine he picked me because, I'm the old one. I'm the blonde one. I'm the, easy target probably. And I absolutely loved that game. So I've never seen it before. And maybe if I had, researched more, I might have been a bit more worried about how hard it was to play. But on the day I was like, oh yeah, okay. So, and I also think he was a little bit overconfident going into it. So when he lost his focus, the wheel fell off quite quickly, which was nice to watch. Then I don't know why Indy picked me, really. I can't remember where it was game 5.
I think it was also
Yeah.
Bedalia and Bex with tokens. Knows that?
There was Bedalia and Bex had the
Yeah.
tokens. Then it was between Ken, Ben, and
Ben.
Charlotte, who she'd been working with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm on the other team, aren't I? And it's again that thing. It's really hard to break rank and pick somebody from the team you've just spent all the main match working with. Maybe it would have been Bedalia if
we always we always say with if you do end up going on Genius Game All Stars someday, being like kind of the bottom of the majority alliance, like is one of like the less safe places you could end up being. Just be like majority alliance without the token, just because like whoever ends up losing, like you're probably gonna get chosen, whether it's you. But you had the deathmatch skills to back it up and to keep yourself around for a while. Before we end, I do just want to do like the quick word association game that I think has been really fun. I'm gonna give you the name of one of your contestants and just give me like one word to describe them, how you feel about them, and I want you again to like just flash back to while you were in the genius house, like right as you were leaving, because like I said, I'm sure everyone's great in the real world, but I want to know like what they were like in the game itself.
Okay.
So we will start off with Ken.
Calculating.
Okay. Charlotte.
Vixen.
Bex.
Straightforward.
Okay. Bedalia.
A little bit vulnerable.
And Benjamin.
Loud.
And let's just throw David Tennant in there.
Absent.
So can I ask, like, were you expecting to get to see David Tennant at some point when you like?
No.
When you signed up for this show?
We didn't have a clue who would be hosting it at all. When we found out, we were wondering whether that he might be there for the final or something like that, but we were told that he wouldn't be.
He's busy.
I do kind of agree with some people that said it could have been distracting to have him there, especially if it affected, because some of the games took a long time.
Yeah.
If they were thinking, look, we're paying him by the hour, can you hurry up and
exactly.
win?
I think they paid him by like the line.
I thought it added a bit of an interesting element, but on the other hand, I don't think it affected the games either way, really.
You know what was funny? We did ask. We were like, when we were like setting up interviews with everyone and stuff, we were like, oh, and can we get an interview with David Tennant too? And they were like, no,
absolutely not.
No, he did quite a few TV interviews in the week before it went live.
Yeah. Well, we're not TV; we're the internet, so
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know from his point of view. I have thought about this. How he's found it, if he's watched it or anything, because he wouldn't. Well, I don't know. He's quite sort of separate from it, really, isn't he?
Well, yeah, but like you look at, for instance, in America right now, we've got the show Destination X that's airing, and they have Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who was one of the main characters on The Walking Dead, which was a huge show, right? Who's hosting it. But he did manage to, come out on set with them and interact.
I like it. I think it gives us something to talk about every podcast. Do we think David Tennant knows any of the contestants' names? And I think it's always a fun thought experiment, because I truly don't know the answer.
Yeah, no, it did work from the point of view of him being like, the evil mastermind, if you like, being somewhere else, going, "Oh, minions, I'm going to set you against each other, and one of you's going to die," type thing.
He's fine. I'm happy we have him there. Allison, is there anything else that you wanted to discuss or bring up, or
the final death match? You never asked me about it, did you?
That's true. Yeah, we didn't ask you about that. Let's ask you about that now. So this final death match, we feel like you played the strategy 100% correct, and we actually thought that Benjamin was the one who screwed it up by choosing to go first, as the guy who's supposed to know all of the like strategies of the games, right? He should have known you want to go second in that game, and you immediately picked up on that strategy. Can I ask, where did that strategy come from? How did you develop the just let me copy exactly what he does strategy? And then why do you think that it didn't ultimately work out for you?
I'd never seen the game before, so I was in the studio and he went first, And I thought, why would I pick a different tile? There's no advantage because he was already nearer to the end than me. Potentially every time we turn over a tile, then
Oh no, another tissue box.
no, that's the dog. Every time he turns over a tile, then I turn over the same tile. I'm more likely to remember it because I'll have seen it twice. It just made complete sense in that instant. And I didn't think it over. It was just a gut thing. I thought, why would I turn over a different one? So I carried on like that. And I should have had it in the bag, but it's the blue honeycomb, apparently. People keep telling me. When it came to it, I couldn't remember where it was. And I actually thought I hadn't seen it. It was as simple as that. And so not winnings, that is on me, and that's fair enough, No,
but with your strategy, you had I think we calculated it out, is around a 40% chance of winning just sight unseen of like Benjamin not just being able to find the so it's like you already had a 40% chance of winning, and then once he finds it kind of resets. But yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I actually had a question, Allison, about Benjamin in these death matches, because it's been like a big topic of discussion. He's terrified to go to the death matches. He'll do anything to get the token of life to win these games. He doesn't want to do it. You're the only person yet who's played against him. Did he feel like a fearsome competitor in that moment? Did you feel like he was panicky?
I did feel he was on edge.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had slightly less focus that game than I had in the others. And that was a little bit of fatigue and a little bit of, I was still annoyed from week 3 and I wanted to knock him out. So I think I just lost my focus a bit because I should have really done a better job of remembering all the tiles. But you know what, I took my eye off the ball and that's, but I didn't feel, I didn't feel that he was an intimidating opponent at all. I think probably I would have found it tough to go up against Ken in some games, and felt Charlotte was a bit of an unknown quantity, and maybe a Manfi, but of course he never got that far.
Yeah. All right. Well, Allison, thank you so much for joining us. This was such a joy. I hope that your whole family is proud to watch you crush it every single episode. And I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you both very much. It's been lovely to be here. And, good luck with podcasting the rest of it.
Thanks.
Thank you. We're in the end game here. We're almost
it's close to the end, and some of us knows what happens,
I know. I can't wait to find out at this point. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. We will be back for episode 7 recap. We will be doing our episode 7 recap with the Riz God, Danny Butler himself from The Amazing Race. And until then, everyone, Cory, you want to end this one because you made fun of me ending it last time?
I guess so. Until then, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.